Alrighty guys, do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel and if you enjoyed this video. So Anthony Joshua has his eyes set on Luis Ortiz. He says that after he annihilates and gets past what's his name, Jarrell Big Baby Miller, if he can't get the fight between Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, then his next option will be Luis Ortiz. Now, many people, for some reason, believe that Anthony Joshua is ducking Luis Ortiz. About 2 months ago, I made a video saying that Anthony Joshua was looking at Luis Ortiz as an option, because he was actually looking at Luis Ortiz as an option for fighting April. If you guys remember, he was an option. He was looking at him as an option, but because at the time he wanted Deontay Wilder, obviously Deontay Wilder didn't want that fight. He took the Tyson Fury fight, and you guys know what ended up happening. Luis Ortiz actually ended up going to fight Christian Hammer. And I remember at the time making a video saying, how come Luis Ortiz didn't respond to this? Because Luis Ortiz was very vocal, right? He's a guy that if you call him out, he immediately replies. He responds. I remember when Dillian White called him out saying, let's fight December of last year. And he was immediately, he knew how to speak English back then. He immediately, posted and he immediately had an interview with, behind, the scenes. And, or like he'll go on what's his name on Fight Hype and make a little interview. So, but when Anthony Joshua was saying he was eyeballing him, he didn't want no parts of. He didn't answer to Anthony Joshua. Now 2 months later, once again Anthony Joshua is eyeballing Luis Ortiz for a replacement to basically replace Wilder or Tyson Fury if both of these guys, if he can't make the fight between both of those guys, which I think is a good fight. This whole, I never understood why many boxing fans felt that Luis Ortiz was unbeatable or avoided. For some reason, many boxing fans believe he's avoided. The man's about 40 years old, okay? The man doesn't have much time left before he needs to retire, before he needs to hang them up, okay? Now, this is why I also don't, am really surprised that people gave Deontay Wilder such glory for fighting Luis Ortiz. I guess the reason they give him such props for it is because that was his best opponent, right? Up to then, Luis Ortiz was honestly Deontay Wilder's best opponent when Deontay Wilder fought him, right? Because his other two best opponents were Washington and Bermane Stavern, and those guys are nothing compared to Luis Ortiz. So the sad truth is the reason people were like giving Deontay Wilder major props was just because that was his best opponent at the time, and he struggled against him. But the funny part is Luis Ortiz, if he ends up getting this fight with Anthony Joshua, okay, and if Anthony Joshua beats him, matter of fact, when he beats him, I hope that the same people that were cheering and giving major props to Deontay Wilder, I hope those people give Anthony Joshua credit, because a lot of people praised Deontay Wilder and they gave him major props for beating Luis Ortiz. I made a video saying, how dangerous is Luis Ortiz at his age. I made that video before Deontay Wilder defended his WBC belt against him, right? And it's funny how nobody back then was talking about Luis Ortiz's age. You know what they will say? Back then, they would just say, oh, well, Anthony Joshua, he fought a Vladimir Klitschko who was the same age. So, yeah. And they were trying to compare Luis Ortiz and Vladimir Klitschko. When Vladimir Klitschko and Luis Ortiz, you can't compare them because Vladimir was a long-reigning champion. Ortiz wasn't. He was a heavyweight contender who was like 40 years old. So, there's a difference, comparing a long-reigning champion and a contender who are about the same age. So I really hope that if they end up fighting, he gets his props, but he won't. I could see Deontay Wilder fans, because they're already calling Luis Ortiz old, and 2 months ago when I made that video where I was saying that Luis Ortiz was being called out by Anthony Joshua, people were saying, oh, now he wants Luis Ortiz. Now he wants. It's like, dude, just 9 months ago, Deontay Wilder, you were kissing Deontay Wilder's ass for it, defending his WBC belt against Luis Ortiz, but now he's old. How come he wasn't old when Deontay Wilder fought him? He wasn't old then, but obviously he's old now that Anthony Joshua wants him. It's just this bias thing that they don't want to give him credit. No matter who Anthony Joshua fights, they don't want to give him credit. People say that me or other boxing channels or other boxing fans, they don't want to give Deontay Wilder credit, but you guys do the exact same thing to Anthony Joshua. No matter who he fights, you don't want to give him credit. He fights Jarrell Miller, he's a nobody. He's unknown. He's a bum. He fights Alexander Povetkin. He was old. He was 40 years old. He fought Vladimir Klitschko. He was old. He fought Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker's a nobody. If he ends up fighting Luis Ortiz hasn't been the same since he got knocked out against Deontay Wilder. Luis Ortiz is old. When he finally does fight, if he fought Tyson Fury, like say he fought Tyson Fury next and he beat him, people will say, oh, Tyson Fury wasn't the same because when he got knocked down or knocked out against Deontay Wilder in that 12th round and he came back like the Undertaker, that ruined him. So he hasn't been the same. Oh, when he fights Deontay Wilder, Joshua, AJ waited till Deontay Wilder was old. So no matter what Anthony Joshua does, he's not going to get credit. So all those people always complaining, saying that no one gives Deontay Wilder credit. Yeah, you same people don't give AJ credit for no matter what he does. So what do you guys think of this? I never thought that AJ was afraid of Luis Ortiz. I didn't think that back then, and I don't think it now. And who do you guys got if that fight actually gets made? You guys already know my opinion. I think Ortiz loses to Anthony Joshua. I thought he was gonna lose. If you guys, I made a prediction saying that Luis Ortiz would lose to Deontay Wilder, and I was so confident that I said I'll delete this channel if that didn't happen. I just knew it because Ortiz style, was bad for Deontay Wilder's style suited Luis Ortiz style, because I know how styles make fights, and it ended up being more competitive than I originally thought. But of course, Deontay Wilder ended up beating him. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think of that. Ortiz, Anthony Joshua wants you, and I wonder if he's going to respond, because he didn't respond the first time. So I'm curious to see if he's going to respond to this call out from Anthony Joshua. So yeah, guys, that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And yeah, I'm out. Bye bye.